Hey everybody, Dennis Stanley here with LindseyJones University and Lindsey Jones. Now, you probably already know about Lindsey Jones. Well, we help people prepare for the NVRC exams, all of them. The TMC, clinical simulations, ACCS, NPS, the AAC, you name it, we help you prepare. Well, if you're thinking about using it or you know you're going to use it because you already have Lindsey Jones material, you may be wondering about the online tool LindseyJones University. That is the key tool that we use with all the audio lectures and videos and the practice exams that will help you prepare for the exam. So you may be wondering, how do I use this to my benefit? What do I do? Seems like there's a lot of information there. So I want to just take you on a brief tour of a student dashboard, or anybody that's preparing for the exam, what dashboard you would see in LindseyJones University, some of the things that you can do with the practice exams, some of the data that you can look at to see what your weakness and strong areas are. And so follow me along as I take you on a tour of LindseyJones University. All right, welcome everybody. This is Dennis Stanley, the president of LindseyJones University. I just want to give you a brief tour of the student version or the student approach for LindseyJones University. I say student because if you're an instructor, then the instructor can log in. It looks just like this, but they have the coordinator's dashboard. They see different things about their students. I'm assuming that either you're an instructor that wants to understand what a student's going to go through as they go into LindseyJones University, or you are a student yourself or somebody who is studying for the exam. I'll call you a student, even if you're not a student in school, and you just want to see how to use LindseyJones University. So I'm going to give you a general tour of what's in here, how to use it, how to maximize it, and hopefully it won't be too long. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as a student. Of course, I'm a fake student in this case, but I want you to be able to see what's going on. Now, some of you are going to see this screen when you log in. Most of you will not. This is because if you own several of Lindsey Jones products like the Adult Critical Care, the Neonatal Specialty Preparatory course, or the Certified Asthma course, you might see this screen if you have a couple things at the same time. Now, if you're in school, you probably won't see this. We just never know how many products that you have or how many products that your school has purchased for you or given you access to. Most of you are going to just go straight into the TMC CS. This is the Clinical Simulation and Therapist Multiple Choice. Later on in 2027, this will be called the Respiratory Therapy Examination. Now, when I click on this and go into this, most of you, this is what you're going to see. You're going to be brought to what we call your dashboard, and you're going to just skip that previous screen if this is the only thing that you have. So don't let that bother you. Okay, let me just give you a little quick survey of the dashboard. You'll notice right up top that we have a section that we can go into, which is about learning. This is where we'll see all the educational modules. We'll certainly go in there and mess around a little bit. We can study for the TMC exam and we can study for the clinical simulation exam. Compare the learning part over to the exam practice part, which is where you're going to go to do practice TMC examination questions, and then of course also practice clinical simulations. As of the date of this video, the clinical simulations are still being used, so there are some clinical simulation practice material there as well. As you go down your dashboard, you're going to see this little bitty button. This is interesting. This is where you can access our online book. This is somewhat new. We're always trying to make it a little bit better. Of course, if you have our products, you probably have access, probably have a physical book as well. Most people still do like the physical book. It's 300 pages, but you can use the online book to just go in there and check out something. We won't do that in this tour, but it does allow you to search things, and you can see online has a few more images, color images, than the book can have as well. Then there's a couple little, I'm going to call them advertisements, but these are not things that are for sale. These are things that are included in your package, and they are basically the mobile apps that do two things. One, we now have our mobile app for flashcards. So pharmacology, word associations, and laboratory normals can be found in there. It's good for Android and iPhone, so you'll want to download that. Some of you may have ended up with physical flashcards as well, but you're going to want to pay attention to the digital flashcards, because if we see something on the exam, we can add a flashcard in our office right here, and automatically it's going to put that flashcard in your deck. So you don't have to go back and go to the Store and Google Play Store and update the app. It's just always looking at the most current cards in preparation for the exam. Pharmacology is one of those things that we've just updated. So we've looked at all the pharmacology that we see on the exam and that purports to be on the exam. And so we make sure that it's in there. So that's the flashcard app for pharmacology, word associations, and laboratory normals. Word associations is kind of interesting. Let me just mention. Word associations are about, remember how many cards are? I think about 80 cards. And these are words that when you see on the exam, you should automatically think something. So in a radiological description, for instance, if you see the word reticulogranular, what does that mean? Well, the flashcard would tell you should associate that with ARDS. So a very, very powerful thing. We have a for Google Android, and also, of course, for your iOS, your iPhone. Now, the other thing that you're going to want to download is called the Lindsey Jones Companion app. This is where you're going to see the audio lectures, and that's all that's there right now. We're thinking that if you want to interact with the other multimedia parts of this system, you're probably going to be on a larger screen PC. So at this point, we didn't try to cram the whole course on an iPhone. That's kind of hard to do. But also, we think that you are also on the go, and you may want to listen to that lecture again. So all of the lectures, about 20, 25 hours worth of lecture, depending on the course that you have. You can go into the TMC, the patient data. Now, you'll know here that if you have any of our other products, that's what you use. If you have ACCS, it'll allow you to go into listen to those lectures. Most of you are going to be doing the TMC and the clinical simulation audio lectures, so you go in there, and so that's fun to play with. We'll save that for another tour, but just download it. Remember, these things are downloadable free onto your device. What they're going to require is that you sign in with the same credentials that you signed in to Lindsey Jones University right here on the computer. Now, as you go down here, then it's going to start coming alive with some data here. It's going to tell you how you're doing with decision-making, information gathering on the clinical simulation. But at first, you might not see much there. A good example of this is the TMC exam. You notice I have no data. That's because as a student, or at least in my fake account here, I have not done any TMC exams yet, so it hasn't started accumulating that very much data. But ultimately, it's going to start accumulating that data, and then you have the ability to look at that from a point of view of what's the timeline, how much have I done over the last 3 months, how am I doing? So again, it's not going to look like much when you haven't done much, but as you do tests, then it's going to start showing some things. This area here, actually, let me talk to you about this here. This area here is just your little portal into going back into exams that you've already done and reviewing them, seeing how you did. You can review, if it's a TMC exam, it'll show up on here, and you can review how you did on the test that you took 4 days ago or 3 weeks ago. It doesn't matter. Not only can you review the scores, but you can go back and review question by question, what you put, what the right answer is, and the rationale. So this is your portal to kind of go back into history and review something that you have done in terms of testing, the practice test. And of course, it just shows your most recent one, but you can go into view all activity, and it's got everything that we might have tried here. Just to give you an idea, here's a therapist multiple choice exam. So if I were to go back and to review that exam, it doesn't matter how long ago I did that. It's going to take me to that specific exam. It's going to show me the questions in the exact order that I saw them in, even though they're randomized in real life. It's going to remember what I did. And it's going to say, well, look, you put A, but the correct answer was D. I can look at the question, and then I can also come down here and look at the explanation, and I can literally review that from time to time. That's very helpful because when you do a full-length TMC practice exam, it might take you up to 3 hours. Remember, it's full length. And then you're too tired to go look at all the answers right now. That'd take you another 3 or 4 hours. I don't know. And so you might take an exam on Tuesday and want to come back on the next following Friday or whenever, and then say, okay, I have a little more time. Now let me see what questions I got wrong and why and what's the rationale, so you can learn a lot from that. All right, and then you can go back and see the score. You'll see my score is horrible because I didn't actually do this exam. I was probably just showing somebody how to get in there. But yours, of course, will have a much, much better score. Now I'm just going to hit click to leave to go back to the dashboard. And remember, that's your portal to go into previous exams. As you get down here, it's going to tell you how many days you have remaining. Most of you, it depends on your school, depends on what you've purchased, or if you're not part of a school, most of you have 6 months, 9 months, and translates that into days. If you need to extend, it'll give you the opportunity to buy a little bit more time. A little word on the street, though, is if you just need a few more weeks, just call the office and say, I don't want to buy another 90 days, but do you think you can give me just a few more weeks? Now, they're not going to do that for 10 times. So, but we don't want you to have to pay just because you need to keep studying for two more weeks before you take your exam, something like that. But it does tell you when you expire there. Now, this part is very, very interesting. I'll have to go into this just a little bit. As you start taking particularly TMC exams, it's going to start ranking your strong areas and your weak areas. So right here, for instance, I'm pretty strong. It shows that I'm 5.96%. Really, you're going to be in the 90s, 95, maybe you get 100% of those types of questions right. But look at this. If I wanted to see my weak spots, I could come over here and think, well, this was kind of a weak spot. And it tells me that one of my weak spots is recommending diagnostic procedures. That's category 1E on the NBRC exam. The reason why that's important is because I can look at this graph and decide to go concentrate on my weak spot. Let me show you how I would do that very quickly. If I wanted to think, hey, I'm doing poorly on the questions from 1E, recommend diagnostic procedures, I can come back up here and do some exam practice. I'll go in here again a little bit later, but let me just show you what I can do. I can go in exam practice, skip the quick start, and come down to the custom exam area and go find 1E. There it is, recommend diagnostic procedures. And I can click this, and then I can actually start an exam where I look at all of the questions in the database associated with recommending diagnostic procedures. Now, why is that helpful? Because when you have a weak area, sometimes there's just something you don't understand about that area. But after you do 10 questions or 20 or 30 or 40 or 100 of those questions and look at the rationale, something about concentrating on those questions just starts to make sense. And so we see you can drastically improve just by practicing and focusing on the questions that are in your weak spot. And so that's just a kind of a quick tip on how to do that. All right. And so you're going to find this is very, 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 very helpful. You're going to want to be always looking at what's my lowest ones. What is that? Let me go look at those questions. Let me see if I can turn that into one of my strengths. All right. Then below that, there's just a little bit of information about other things that'll help you. Not necessarily for the exam, kind of for the exam. So in other words, you can follow me on YouTube. I go into Respiratory Sensei, and I do talk about things in respiratory therapy, just a free YouTube site. Certainly I concentrate on the NBRC exam. Not all of it. Some of it's for actually once you get into the field, how would you manage? I talk about things like how to get a job and specific clinical criteria that you need to know to be a better caregiver. But also, there's also something called Artivo. Artivo.com is a place where you can go get continuing education credits. You can donate. It's a charitable site. You can get one course for free every month, or you can donate. I can't remember. It's like $34, $39, $42, something like that. And you can become an annual member. You don't have to donate. You can just get a course every month, I should say, for free. But you have an account. Not only do you take the course and get the CUs, you can print out your certificate, but also we keep track of it. We report it to the AARC. And so the AARC does have your official transcript, as we do for any CEUs that you do here. We are AARC certified, so you'll enjoy that. Okay, so that's your dashboard, and I've kind of talked about a lot of this anyway. Well, let me just show you a couple other things. You're going to be spending most of your time in the Learn section. So let's say I want to study the TMC exam. I can go into the Learning modules here. It's going to open it up, and it's going to uncollapse anything that you had previously. But I want you to see here, these are the categories of things that I need to learn. And this is also in the order that is in the book, but it is also the names of the sections that you'll be graded upon on the NBRC exam. So there's an area on the exam called patient data. There's questions that are related to equipment and questions related to interventions. And then, of course, we have two general areas that you need to study, pathology and pharmacology. But doesn't look like much, but let me just kind of go into here for just a minute. If I go into patient data, here are all of the courses that I need to study for patient data. Now watch here. I'm going to go into introduction to the course. So as I go into here, it's going to show it's gonna have a bunch of little resources that you can go through. Right now, there's a video, so it's going to start off showing a video, and you might be able to hear that a little bit.
Before we get too deep into the Lindsey Jones material in preparation for your NBRC.
Anyway, there's some video for some introduction there. And then you'll also find that there is a section sometimes that's just got some information as you get started. Notice that anytime there's a little speaker button, we can click that.
We have already introduced you several aspects.
And it'll talk to you a little bit and kind of guide you through that. I want to show you something kind of interesting. So those are the two little resources in this course, Introduction to CRT Review course. But also down here, you also have the main audio lecture. So if you're just listening to audio, like with the companion app for your iPhone or Android, you can also just listen to the audio lecture as well. That's helpful. But it's there. Most of you will be doing the multimedia stuff up here on your phone, listening to the audio lectures, but you can listen to the audio lecture from your PC. All right, so now I'm going to go back to courses and notice what I just did. I just did introduction. What if I want to study calculations? So I can go into calculations, and then I can watch a video. We'll play it for just a second so you see that. I'll kind of scrub through. So we can talk about, there are some calculation introductions there. And then we get into the calculations themselves. So lots of videos that kind of show you how to go through some of these calculations. All right, so take a look at this. So here we're talking about the VDVT calculation, and we kind of show you how to do it. And you can go through all the little calculations that are on the exam, etc. The shunt equation is a real nice, popular one that people hate. So you can watch that. Okay, sorry to inundate you with all the audio there. Now, so there's lots of videos there. That's one form, information screens. And then eventually what you can do is what we call quizzes. Quizzes are very, very powerful. You're going to love these things. I mean, it's not like a test. You get to kind of practice a little bit because you can learn more from a quiz than almost doing anything else. What's happening here is that we're going to show you in videos and in PowerPoint presentations, not really PowerPoint, but slide presentations, going to lay the foundation of the information. But what good is that unless you immediately try to figure out, hey, what does this look like on the exam? And so we'll take you into quizzes, and now you get to immediately practice this. So like it says, this patient has the following ABG on these results with FiO2 0.40. And then it asks, what's the estimated alveolar oxygen tension? This is the PaO2 formula. And so we've shown you a shortcut at that point. You're going to use this, and you're going to think, I don't know, is it 90? And you can check my answer. I got that wrong. It's not a problem because it's a quiz. It's a practice quiz. I can redo it and say, maybe it's 225. And that was correct. And then you can come down here and it shows the explanation. But better than that, you can press this little speaker button and it'll walk you through it. I won't make you listen to that. And then you can kind of go next and you can try another one. And what's the answer here? I don't know. I'm not actually reading the question. Oh, I got that one right off the bat, but then I can listen to the explanation where we walk you through those questions. There is something about doing a question right after you've learned something and applying it in a question, messing it up a little bit, but then listening to the explanation, the guidance through that question. If you do that over and over again, you get really, really good at applying the information that we taught you. So that's a key part of Lindsey Jones University. Now, look, throughout the whole course, there's like 450 to 550. I lost track the count some time ago, but there's like 550 of those questions that are explained that we walk you through that. That is very, very powerful. If there's any one thing that prepares people for the exam, it's going through those quiz questions, those practice questions. Now, those are in addition to the full-length examinations that you can practice with written explanations, but not audio explanations. These have audio explanations. All right, and so you can see there's all kinds of things that you can do there. Let me just kind of go into, say, medical imaging, radiology here. Look, I've got lots of things I can do. First, I can watch a video. We'll do an introduction. Then I can just read this information screen. If I don't want to just simply read it, I can press the audio button here. Here's another video. It's going to get into respiratory pathologies. I'll kind of scrub through here just to show you that we start looking at x-rays.
There's just a couple of elements you
All right, so you can look at that. And then sometimes you have what's called a slideshow. And so you can go in here. This is self-guided,
Welcome to the radiology
but it is
section.
also with audio. I'm going to pause that. So you can go this from slide to
First and
slide.
foremost, you want to
And it's just kind of like a PowerPoint. And it's a little bit redundant. You may have seen that in the video, but now you can kind of slow down and look at the slideshow and just lean a little bit more. Then there's some more videos here. Then we have something like this. These are flashcards that are online. Now, I know you already have your flashcard app, but I can also study the radiological descriptors. So when I see scattered patchy infiltrates, let me flip this card. Oh, that's associated with ARDS. Then I can go to the next card, air bronchogram. What's that associated with? Oh, yeah, that we would see that in pneumonia. And so you can kind of go through these cards. Then there's some more quizzes, and you can see there's just tons of stuff. Well, look, patient data has lots of stuff here. And in each one of these, there's probably anywhere from 2 to 10 resources that you can study. And then, of course, we have equipment. You can go through there. Then we, of course, have interventions. Each one of these is a course in and of itself. And there may be, here's a slideshow, and a quiz, and a quiz. So there's a lot of information there. I guess that's what we're trying to tell you. But that's how you would use that. Pay attention to pharmacology review. This is somewhat brand new. This is the most comprehensive pharmacology review we've ever done for the exam. People always ask us, how do you do pharmacology? It's probably not your favorite subject if you're like me. Actually, I kind of like it. I'm a little bit of a nerd. But anyway, you can go to each one of these, and it's going to just take you into depth what you need to know about mucolytics. And there's going to be some quiz questions there as well. Well, finally, I just want to show you one other thing. You're going to spend a lot of time in the Learn methodology, probably most of your time. But your practice exams are done over here. I'll just be very simple because you'll play with this. But you go in here, if you want a full-length exam, you're going to do a quick start. You can pick from one of several forms. Keep in mind that you may look at B and D and say, hey, where's A and C? It means they haven't been assigned to you. We give anywhere from 6 to 8 full-length TMC exams, and they get rotated around, pulled off, updated, that kind of thing. So don't be bothered that it's skipping some numbers here. But you can say, hey, I want to do Form H. You can choose whether you want the Form H to show you the same questions in the same order every time, or go ahead and randomize it so that it mixes them up a little bit. I can also decide, do I want to do a full length, or I just want to do a partial one on H? And then, of course, I can start the exam. Now, I'm going to do another tour of how you can go through an exam, but that's how you start the exams. I'll give you some more tips in another video, of course. And so we'll do that. But that's just how you use LindseyJones University. Those are some of the basics. And you should be able to get started. Mostly just go and experiment and play around and install the apps and go through the learning modules, and you'll have fun. You'll learn a lot. It's probably a lot of stuff you know, but you will pick up some stuff that you probably didn't know, even though you've done complete schooling or you've been studying the book for a long time. Maybe you've been a respiratory therapist for years. You're definitely going to find some stuff that needs to be refreshed, is different than what you learned, and so you'll pay attention to that. Anyway, that's just kind of an overview of LindseyJones University from a student or a test examiner preparation person perspective. All right, check it out, and we'll talk to you later.